Yesterday, an African child under state care was murdered. There were 9,000 children were murdered in the convent of Catholic Church under the government's watch. This happened to my own family members. They took a child, they used him for medical experiments and clinical trials.
Ireland is a country often celebrated for its compassion and modern-day democracy, but a silent tragedy has been unfolding behind the walls of its care homes and asylum shelters. 62 asylum-seeking children, some as young as 12, have vanished from state care in Ireland. Many of their stories were never the subject of public appeals, and many are no longer even being searched for. And in the years between 2019 and 2023, nearly 9,000 children are reported to have died under state-related circumstances, some through neglect and others through exploitation. In today's episode of On Rights, Crime and Justice, we'll be looking into a disturbing reality that's faced by young African migrants in Ireland, where we see crimes against humanity in plain sight. I'm joined by Professor Dr. Mehari Fiseha, a social scientist specialized in international law. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. How are you doing today, Doctor?
Thank you very much, and I'm very much grateful for inviting me today, and I thank you for this interview.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for also reaching out and drawing our attention to this very critical issue in Ireland. So to start with, I want you to paint the picture of what exactly is currently going on in Ireland in terms of migrant children that are disappearing without a trace, and the increasing death toll for children. And of course, these are avoidable deaths. So first of all, what exactly is the situation with young migrant and African children in Ireland?
Okay, first of all, Ireland has a historical um, issues on murdering children. In those days, I think maybe 50 years ago, when the church was actually have power in the state, there were 9,000 children were murdered in the convent of Catholic Church under the government's watch. Just 2 years ago, the government of Ireland has acknowledged and admitted that those 9,000 children were murdered during, those years. So this is their historical background. But as we speak right now, there are thousands and thousands migrants or immigrants coming from Africa, Asia, coming to Ireland. And just between 2019 until 2024, with less than 5 years, 1,490 children died. You see, this is very concerning. And there's a
Wow.
serious cover up. The government don't want to reveal how and why these children died because there's a serious cover up. Social workers covering up, the HAC covering up, the Child and Family Agency called TUSLA, who is acting like a mafia group, okay, taking children from African families and kidnap them, and nobody knows where these children are. I mean, this happened to my own family too. I mean,
Wow.
I can show you here a doctor just it came just today, a doctor who exposed children used for medical experiments and clinical trials have been beaten up by unknown individuals. This is a doctor from India, okay? So who was working in a hospital. So she witnessed what happened to these 300 children that the government were using all sorts of medical vaccines as a medical experiments and clinical trials. So she exposed what the Irish government is doing against 300 children. And then what did they do? They beat her. They made her homeless. They canceled her practice license. And this is what is happening. If even a doctor, a medical doctor, I mean, it's just happened today, this morning. You can see. I mean, doctor
Yeah.
who blew whistle
Yeah.
on camps, broke and homeless. Look, so whether you are a professor, whether you are an academician, whether you are a medical doctor, you are a victim. I have been a victim for exposing this. So,
Hmm.
as an African, as a scholar, as a human rights professor, I will never keep quiet while all these things happening to our children.
When you say you've been a victim, what exactly have you also witnessed, even on a personal level? And you said this situation has also happened to your family. What exactly, how has this affected you, even on a personal level, this situation?
Because they know I'm a professor of human rights law. So they they kept following me. I mean,
Hmm.
when I arrived from the airport to my home, there's always unmarked cars following
Hmm.
me. They kept stopping me, checking my driving license, checking my passport, checking where I live, where I was, where I'm heading, and all those kind of information. I'm an African Irish. I have Irish citizenship. Okay,
Hmm.
I've lived in the country for 24 years, more or less. But then, because I am outspoken person, I'm an academician, I'm not a politician. So whatever I see, I will speak up, and especially when it comes to Africans. I mean, you must remember,
Hmm.
slavery is past and gone long time
Hmm.
ago. This is a new slavery that the Irish government doing against vulnerable African children. So
Hmm.
this has to be exposed to international community. I mean, in less than 5 years, 1,490 children died. And yesterday, just yesterday, an African child under state care was murdered.
Hmm.
So how are you going to explain this to me?
Hmm. So what do you believe is fueling this injustice? What are the hidden networks that are behind this exploitation? Could it be racism or just ignorance on the part of the authorities? What could be fueling these crimes against African migrants? And of course, this is as good as war against humanities. What could be fueling this injustice?
You see, the thing is this: when these institutes like TUSLA, which is a Child and Family Agency, HSE, which is Health Service Executive, when they take a child under their care, they pay for a year 900,000 per
Hmm.
child for 1 year to keep 51 children in an emergency accommodation cost the state 38 million. You see, so African children are like income generating
Hmm.
for lawyers, social workers, security officials, judges, and people who are looking after them. So it's a cartel whereby they take vulnerable African children because most African families are scared, you see, to fight back. And then as a result, their children are taken and they can't say anything.
Hmm.
So that's what they are doing it under the so-called, oh, you cannot raise your children or your child. So we will look after your child. And then
Hmm.
what do they do with the child? Like I said, this happened to my own family members. They took a child, an autistic child. They
Hmm.
used him for medical experiments and clinical trials. After they did that, they sent a letter to the family as an apology. We apologize on behalf of the Irish state that we
Hmm.
have used your child as the guinea pigs. I mean,
Wow.
where, tell me, does this happen in the world? Actually, I have the letter. I have the letter that the family received, that the state apologized, but the life of that poor autistic child be destroyed. And how many African children, like the one I showed you as an Indian doctor, she said 300 children were used for medical experiments and clinical trials because she exposed the government. They beat her, they assaulted her, they canceled her license from practicing as a psychiatrist doctor in Ireland. And then she had to move out, and now she's in the UK. And this is what's happening. They are targeting Africans for people who are speaking up. Like I said, myself, I have been targeted for the past 3 years. They threaten me. They send me letters to threaten. If you speak up this, if you expose this, we will deal with you. You
Wow.
see? So this is what's happening. This is what I'm saying. The African community in Africa, African medias, African scholars, African head of states, I would like to plead and ask and beg them, please, Africans in Ireland have been used for medical experiments and clinical trials. I have all the evidence as a professor. I have all the evidence. I mean, I can show you. Here is I have all this evidence here. What happened to these children? So this is crimes against humanity in the highest level.
So if you're saying that this, because now from what I see, this is actually something that is being perpetrated even by the island governments. So I'm guessing
Yes.
that, because I believe that when these families report these incidences, what then is the response from the authorities? And I mean, from a bit of what I saw, it seems like responsibility is just being passed across between the Tosla and the Guardia. So
So
what really is being done by the authorities when these families come out to say this is what is happening? Do they just threaten them, or like you said, they just
yeah.
send them letters? What sort of justice has been put in place for these bereaved family members and their children?
Well, you summarized it very well. You see, the response was that, you see, Gardaí means a police department of Ireland. These are the most corrupt police department in Western Europe. I mean, where does in the world a police officer sexually assault teen-age boys? The evidence is there. Judges, 6 boys have been sexually abused by judges. Social workers abuse children. So the Gardaí, which is the police department, Tutla, HAC, one big mafia group taking children from these vulnerable family members, and use them for medical experiments and clinical trials. Like I said, when they take one child, it costs 900,000, almost 1 million per child. So they are looking for these children from every family. And then when those families go to the police, the first contact point is the police. When they go to the police turn them down. In most cases. And then they tell them, we'll contact you, and it will never happen. Because they know they work together. You see, they work together. It's a conspiracy. TUSLA, HAC, and the police department of the country work together to destroy families. How many African families? I mean, by the way, this also happened to white family, to white community who are vulnerable. I mean, when I say vulnerable, in a vulnerable society in the country, like
Yeah.
those who do not have voice. You see, they target single mothers. They target family members who have 5, 6 children, and they take 1 or 2 of them, and then you will never see them. This is slavery in a different name.
Yeah.
In 21st century, I didn't make up all this story. It is everything documented. It's in the public domain. I have sent you all the evidence. Based on those evidence, that's why I am arguing my case. This is a very serious crime against Africans. Whether you are from West Africa, whether you are from East Africa, or North Africa, or South Africa, you are a victim as long as you are a black person, an African man, or African woman, or African family. And that's why I'm calling the international community, Africans, 54 member states of Africa. African children have been used for medical experiments and abused for the past 5 years.
Hmm. So, I mean, I want to know what is the level of public outrage, even in Ireland, because this story is not something that is quite popular outside of the country and in the domain of the general media space. So, do you think that the public outrage would be different if these were Irish-born children who disappeared overnight? How much of the little attention paid to this has to do with the situation that these are African children? And even in the international community, would you say that you have seen as much support as regards this particular situation?
Well, you see, most of the media in Ireland are owned by the state, like
Mm,
RTE1, RTE2. So all these medias are paid by the state,
mm,
you see. So they cover up. They only publish what is happening in the newspaper. But then they all talk about, oh, these children have been misplaced. We don't know where we don't know where they are. Just a show in a parliament, thousand and thousand reports from so-called NGOs. But then who pay the NGOs as the government?
mm,
You see, so there is a serious cover up. So the media outrage here in Ireland is that they silence you. You're not allowed to speak up. If you are going to be speak up, like what happened to the Indian doctor, they will destroy you. They will make sure that your profile, your credibility, your professional work will be destroyed. They'll come up with something else. Like now myself, I don't care what they will do. I don't care. I know myself. If they come up with accusations, which I am prepared to die for this
mm,
cause, I mean,
mm,
risking my job, my family. But like I said, I'm an African. We have tolerated slavery. We have tolerated colonization. We have tolerated apartheid. And now in 21st century, we are tolerating disappearance and killing our children. In
mm,
21st century, this should not be happening in 21st century, especially in a country that portrays itself a champion of human rights, democracy,
mm-hmm,
rule of law,
mm-hmm,
justice. No, this shouldn't continue like this. Ireland and the Irish government, they have to be exposed. They
mm,
have to be brought to justice in the International Criminal Court. Why would the ICC only target Africans and African countries? Well, there's no outrage because the government deliberately cover up what is happening in the country, and
mm-hmm,
there is no more coverage what's going on. They just make a headline: this amount of children have been missing from state's care, and then who is accountable? How did this? How did this happen? How on earth 236 children in 1 year
mm,
were missing from a state care? I mean, where did these children go? You see? So who would challenge the state? Who would challenge TUSLA? I mean, TUSLA, the Child and Family Agency, their yearly budget is for 2026 1.3
mm,
billion of euros. So TUSLA buys lawyers, TUSLA buys social workers, TUSLA buys doctors, psychiatrist reports, medical physicians or GP, general practitioner doctors. They all are bought. Medias are bought. Lawyers are bought because they have excessive money. So to have a child from one family, it's a 1 million per year for them. So if they spend 200,000 here and there, they still get 800,000 per child. So it's like a criminal cartel. So our children are commodities. by the Irish government. Look at the psychological impact of those children and their families, what they're passing through. Because I know hundreds, not thousands, hundreds of family members of African origin who are devastated from Cameroon, from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Somalia, Ghanaians, and I'm sure there's a couple of Nigerians, but they all are scared. They are afraid. They don't want to come out and fight because they threaten them. We are going to deport you. If you speak up, we are going to deport you. So they're scared. So our children, we don't see them anymore. I mean, I sent you a picture where a child, he was tortured. He was tortured. His back was tortured. I mean, this is like a political prisoner, a child, autistic child. Then who's going to take the full responsibility? The police don't want to investigate it because they are working together. They are all complicit. The entire government is complicit against African children. And that's why I'm saying this has to be exposed. This has to go to a media, to international media. And I am willing, like I said, I am willing to travel anywhere to speak up on these issues.
All right. So finally, for all these children, who have died in state or care-related circumstances, what would justice look like for them, both for the missing and the dead? What would justice look like for both the children and their families? Just a bit on that before we wrap up the program.
I mean, what kind of justice are we talking about here? How do you quantify when your child is taken by the state for 5 years? You never saw your child for 5 years. When he is sexually or when she is sexually molested, when she is or has been used for medical experiments and clinical trials. How do you quantify this in terms of monetary reward? How? The implication, the psychological devastation of that family member. And I mean, I'm sure the child has siblings, brothers and sisters. And look at, they just destroyed the entire family bond of that family. So how are you going to quantify? What sort of justification or justice you would come up with to compensate? This is crimes against humanity. I mean, in 21st century, destroying the entire family. While they are not dead, you are not dead physically, but mentally, psychologically, you are dead. And I know a family member, the husband, he cannot work because of the distress and the stress that he's been passing through. The mother, 24 hours, his wife, cries. And the other two children, they keep saying, where is our brother? They haven't seen him for 5 years. When you go to the police to ask, we want to see our child. Oh no, your child is in the north. Where in the north? And then when you go out there and seek for your child, they tell you he is in the south. And then they tell you he's in the west. And they tell you he's in the east. It is one mafia group that is there to take all children of African origin and use them for different purposes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Fiseha, for bringing these critical issues to light. My heart really goes out to every one of you that have had to face this. I really do hope and pray that with this program, we're able to reach the right people that can do something about this. As we wrap up the program, it's important to point out that the Irish care system is not standing alone in its failures. Across borders as well, children are fleeing poverty, war, and persecution. And into this, they disappear into the horrors of trafficking and exploitation. So it's high time that we call for independent international investigations. If you see something be sure to say something. Many thanks once again to my guests for bringing this critical issue in Ireland to light, and thank you as well for watching this program. I'm Tonya Gubanjo, and this has been on Rights, Crime and Justice. Till next time, it's bye for now.